Perfect, guys. All righty. So welcome to today's class. I'm super, super excited. We're going to be making delicious, delicious fish tacos with a cabbage slaw and a very simple Greek yogurt sauce. And the first thing we're going to do, make sure that your oven is preheated to 400 degrees. That's just going to preheat while we are going to start working. And the second thing, because that was the first thing. The second thing is you're just going to take your fish, okay? Mine is already defrosted and it comes vacuum sealed. So I'm just going to open it up and we're going to dry it, okay? So bring over a paper towel. Let me switch over to my other screen. Right over here. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to grab a few paper towels. If you want to use a kitchen towel and then just wash it after, you can do that as well. I'm going to grab a paper towel, some scissors to open my bag. If yours is, open your fish however it is, however it came. Okay. Sorry, I hear someone came in, so I just want to mute you guys. You guys are always welcome to unmute yourself, okay, to ask any questions. Just make sure that you mute yourself after you ask your question. Awesome, guys. So I'm just opening my bag over here. I'm going to put my fish right on top of my paper towel. I think I'm going to need a bigger piece. I'm actually just going to cut this in half right now to make it a little bit easier. And I'm going to put my fish on the paper towel. I'm going to get another piece right on top. And you're sort of gently going to just squeeze it down. Okay, and you're going to see how the paper towel absorbs all of that water. Okay, so this is most likely going to happen when you defrost your fish. If you bought your fish fresh today, not a lot of liquid will be removed right now, but you do want to just dry it up a little bit. Okay, and just like this, I'm going to leave it in the paper towel and bring it over to the side. We're going to come back to the fish in a little bit. And now we're going to make the marinade. Okay, so just bring over a cutting board. I'm actually going to wash my hands very quickly. They smell a little bit like fish. And at the same time, I'm going to grab a garbage bowl. Right? Remember that I always like to have a garbage bowl, just any bowl nearby, so we can throw the garbage right in there and not have any problems. You don't have to go back and forth between the garbage and your cutting board. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, we are going to take one garlic clove, okay? Just like this, one garlic clove. And we're going to mince it up really, really finely, okay? If you want to use garlic powder instead, you can. There's no problem with that, okay? So I have my garlic clove. It still has its peel. So I'm just going to take my knife, put the thicker end right on top, and with like the bottom of my hand, put it right on top and crack that right down, mash it down, and that's going to remove the peel from the garlic. Sometimes they come out easily, sometimes they don't, but that usually works, okay? And just bring over also the bowl where you're going to make the marinade, okay? So I'm gonna chop up the garlic and put it in here. So I just wanna bring that close. And now I'm just gonna take my garlic and cut it lengthwise into long pieces, okay? Remember, try to do it as small as possible. I'm gonna give it a few more chops, okay? And then just turn it over and we're going to dice it, okay? We're gonna mince this really, really finely, just like that. Righty. Again, if you don't like garlic, let's say you don't like the flavor of garlic, I would recommend to just put the whole piece of garlic into the marinade. So the marinade gets a little bit of the garlic flavor, but you don't end up having actual pieces of garlic in your fish, okay? And since we want to mince this, another good trick is to take your knife and sort of mash it and move it over, okay? That's going to release the liquids from the garlic and make it a little bit easier to chop it really fine, just like that. If you're not as picky as me and you don't mind to have bigger pieces of garlic, you can totally skip this part. I just want to make it really nice and thin. And if you really like garlic, you can add more cloves, okay? I'm just gonna go with one clove, but you can add a second clove if you'd like. Perfect. Awesome, so this is good for me. It's a good size. And I'm just gonna scoop it up with my knife and put it straight into the mixing bowl, okay? And I grabbed the big bowl because I wanna add the fish into the marinade and I don't have to use so many different like plates. That's why I got a big bowl. But if you don't have a big bowl, you can also just take a separate dish after and mix everything in there. All right, guys. So let me just move over some things over here. And now we are going to, getting that a little closer, we're going to finish making our marinade, okay? So the first thing we're gonna add in here is 2 tablespoons of olive oil, okay? So just grab, I'm gonna measure it out. You don't have to measure it out, whatever you'd like. Okay, so I'm just gonna measure out 2 tablespoons and put it right in here. You can use any type of oil. I just like to use olive oil. You can use canola oil, vegetable oil, avocado oil, whichever type you like. Awesome. The next thing we're gonna add in there is some garlic powder, okay? Sorry, not garlic powder, some chili powder. Let me just try this a little bit. All right, so this recipe calls for 1.5 teaspoons of chili powder, okay? So I'm first gonna go with the 1 teaspoon, okay? And then I'm gonna measure out the half right in here. Perfect. Okay, now it's asking for 1/2 teaspoon of ground cumin. Okay, so just grab your cumin over. We're gonna measure that out as well. Perfect. Then it asks for 1/2 teaspoon of paprika. So just open up your paprika and measure out 1/2 teaspoon. And if you don't have these spices, you can really use any spices you'd like, or any of your favorite spices, okay? We're just creating a marinade. So anything you'd like goes. Now I'm gonna add a teaspoon of salt. Here's my salt shaker, just gonna measure out a teaspoon, okay? And then it asks for 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. You guys know that I don't like measuring out my pepper. I always like to freshly grind it in. So I'm just gonna eyeball it, grinding in a little bit of that black pepper. Perfect. And now we're just gonna give this a whisk or a mix, okay? So I just have a very tiny whisk over here. I love this one. I'm just gonna mix this up really, really well. If you feel like you wanna add a little bit more oil because you think it's a little too thick, you can totally do that. You're basically looking for a mixture like this, okay? And then the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna cut our fish into sticks, add it in here and mix everything together. That's why I use the big bowl. All right, so just mix that up. Perfect. Clean up your space a little bit. Awesome, and now I'm gonna bring my cutting board over. Feel free to ask any questions. Awesome. All right, so let's bring back our cutting board. And now I'm also gonna bring over that fish. If you left it in the paper towels just like I did, you're probably gonna see that even more liquid came out. I'm just gonna remove that first piece of paper. Perfect, and now we are gonna cut this into sticks, okay? So feel free to cut them into any shape you like. If you wanna even leave them in a full fillet, you can, but remember they're gonna go into tacos, so you wanna make them into smaller pieces. So I'm just gonna cut this in half, and over here, make a few sticks. This is how my sticks are looking. I don't want them too big or too small. This is the way I like them, but again, you can cut them however you'd like. If you wanna cube them, you can cube them as well. Totally make it your own. All right, and this is gonna go straight into our marinade, right? We have our marinade nearby. I'm just gonna throw that in there. I'm not gonna give it a mix yet, so I don't wanna dirty my hands. We'll give it a mix after we cut all of the fish. Awesome, and the same thing to that other piece. I'm gonna cut it into sticks. Perfect, throw it into that. Awesome. All righty, and now you can either put some gloves in your hands or just use your bare hands, and we'll give it a wash after. You're gonna mix all of this together and make sure that all of the pieces of the fish get a nice coating of that marinade, okay? So give it a nice mix gently, okay? We don't want to break the fish sticks, but you do want to make sure that every piece of the fish gets a little bit of that marinade. Just taking some from the bottom, bringing it to the top. I'm sure you can already smell all the delicious flavors from this fish, from the marinade. Awesome. Mix that up. I would mute myself, guys, to wash my hands, but my hands are dirty, so bear with me just 1 second. You're gonna hear me wash my hands, so just hold on 1 moment. Give that a nice wash. Perfect, guys. So you can definitely leave this marinating for 20 minutes, right? If you're not in a rush and you don't want to bake these yet, you can marinate them for 20 minutes. I don't want us to be waiting on the, on this cooking class for so long. So I'm just going to marinate this for about 10 minutes. I'm going to put a timer on. If it's a little bit less, it doesn't matter. It's still going to be delicious. And you can see that all of the marinade has been absorbed by the fish, right? There's nothing left over. So even if we don't marinate it for too long, the marinade is completely spread out through the fish. So once it cooks, you're still going to get all of that flavor. Okay, and I'm just going to move it over to the side. I'm going to bring over my cutting board again. Okay, and we're going to get started on the next thing. I'm just going to give you guys a couple of minutes to get back with me. I'm just going to open here, see all of you guys how you're doing. I feel like everyone is good to continue, right? Thumbs up if we're good. Awesome. I feel like everyone's on the same page. Awesome. All right, guys. Does anyone have a question?
I do, but I don't know why did you wear a journey one?
She asks if everybody has a question, and she's clean, immaculate.
Okay. Awesome, guys. All right, let's continue. So now we're going to make the cabbage slaw. All right. The reason I'm going to make this first is because not first, second, but I want to make this before the Greek yogurt sauce because I actually want the cabbage to absorb all of the delicious ingredients we're going to throw in there. So just have another bowl nearby. Okay.
Stephanie, sorry to interrupt you. Did we forget the limes? Did we forget the limes or we did that already?
Oh, Andrew, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Sometimes when I'm going so fast, I forget. So just thank you so much for that, Andrew. We're just going to cut a lime in half. You know why? The reason I forgot is because I had already cut the lime in half. All right. So I'm just going to take the lime and squeeze it into my fish. All right. I'm just using one lime. I'm going to squeeze it in there. Thank you so much for that, Andrew. And I'm going to give it one more mix with my hands. All right. You can measure this out. It's about 1.5 tablespoons. Then I'm just going to use one full lime. All right. And then we're going to give this a mix. So the lime juice will make the marinade a little thinner, but you can still see that most of the fish absorbs the sauce. Perfect. I'm just going to wash my hands one more time. Thank you again, Andrew. Remember that we preheated our oven to 400 degrees. Mine is already ready. We're just going to let the fish marinate for a few minutes. And then we're going to start. So now let's move on to the dressing that we're going to make for our cabbage. Okay, so the cabbage is the last thing we're going to use. So just have your cutting board nearby and then the bowl. Okay, so for the cutting board, the only thing you need to chop is the cilantro. Okay, and I always show you guys these awesome little containers that come with lightly dried herbs, right? This one's cilantro. You can buy it with basil, with parsley, with mint. They have a lot of options, but I do want this to be a little bit finer. So I'm just going to take about 1/4 of a cup out, about 2 tablespoons, sort of half of the container. Okay, and I'm going to chop this up. So if you have the full cilantro, just remove the leaves from the stem. Okay, put it on your cutting board and just chop it up. And that's what I'm doing now. I just want to make this a little bit finer, but it's totally your call. If you want big pieces of cilantro, you can just sort of pick them off the stem and throw them in the bowl. Well, actually don't throw them in the bowl. Just keep them on your cutting board. because we're gonna make the sauce first. Perfect, I'm just making this nice and fine. Awesome. I'm just gonna bring it over and bring over my bowl. Okay, so in this bowl, we are going to add a half a cup of rice vinegar, all right? And some people ask me they can use other vinegars. You totally can. Try to use a vinegar that isn't too strong. So I wouldn't recommend just using regular vinegar, but you can use some red wine vinegar or some white wine vinegar or any. I wouldn't do balsamic because then it's gonna make the cabbage dark. But I always like to do rice vinegar because for me, it's like the lightest vinegar. It's a little bit sweet. I really, really love it. So I'm just gonna measure out a half a cup. Perfect, put it right there. In here, we're also gonna add about 2 to 3 packets of stevia. So I'm sure you guys have seen many different coleslaw recipes, and all of them have sugar. So if you wanna add sugar, you totally can. You can add about 3 to 4 tablespoons of sugar. If you don't wanna add sugar like I am, I'm just gonna start with 2 packs of stevia. I'm gonna mix everything together, try it before we add the cabbage, and if I feel like it needs a little bit more sweetness, then I'll add that 3rd pack. But for now, I'm only gonna add 2 packs of stevia right in here, or Splenda, or any kind of sweetener that you'd like. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. This is a really, really simple slaw. Because remember that we're gonna have the delicious Greek yogurt sauce and a little bit of avocado and all the seasonings from the fish. So we don't wanna overpower our meal with a very heavy cold slaw. All right, so I just sprinkled some salt in there. I'm gonna crack in some fresh black pepper. Again, I'm eyeballing it, but it's about, you know, like a teaspoon of salt to 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Awesome. I'm just gonna grab my small whisk that I showed you guys before. I'm gonna mix this up and give it a try to see if I want it a little sweeter. So this sweetness is perfect for me. I'm not going to add the 3rd pack. Yes, Brahim.
Can you repeat what was in the thing?
Of course. In here, we have just rice vinegar, a half a cup of rice vinegar, I put 2 packets of stevia, and then I just put like a nice pinch of salt and some black pepper. So about a teaspoon of salt if you're measuring, and about a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. And that's it. That's all we've added in here so far. Perfect, guys. I'm actually gonna hold on to this just 1 second because I do wanna get our fish into the oven. So we have our cilantro chopped that we're gonna work on soon. We have our dressing for our cabbage slaw in this bowl. I'm just gonna move that over. And I'm gonna bring over my baking sheet, okay? So I just have 1 small baking sheet because I'm not gonna cook all of the fish right now. I just have a small baking sheet covered in foil. You can use parchment paper as well. I'm gonna give it a really light spray, just really little of non-cooking spray. I'm using extra virgin olive oil one. All right, and then I'm gonna put my fish right on here, okay? Just like this. It doesn't matter if they're close, they're not gonna expand in size or anything. If anything, they would shrink a little bit. Perfect. So as I said, I wanna cook, in my house, we don't have dinner so early, we have dinner a little bit later. So I'm only gonna cook a little bit because I wanna show you guys the final results, but the rest I will cook later when we're ready to eat, because this is just gonna be in the oven for about 15 minutes, even less, depending on how strong your oven is. Okay, so so we're gonna put this into the oven. Okay, I'm gonna put a timer for 10 minutes, then we'll check it after those 10 minutes, and if we think that they're still not fully cooked, we'll give it another 5 minutes. But between 10 to 15 minutes, the fish is going to be ready. Perfect. Awesome, guys. All right, so let's bring back our rice vinegar dressing right over here. I'm going to add all of the cilantro into this. Again, guys, if I'm going a little bit fast and you're a little behind, don't worry about it. Just ask me any questions and I'll repeat any steps we've done. Perfect. All right. So we have that in here. And I was actually looking for purple cabbage, but I didn't find any purple cabbage. So I just bought 1 bag of angel hair coleslaw. I'm going to open this up and dump it all in here because it's about 2 cups. I'm just opening it, and I'm going to throw it straight into here. All right. And if this is not your first time here and you know me, you know that I love to mix everything with my hands. So I'm going to give this a really, really nice mix with my hands. All right. We want to make sure that everything is fully incorporated. If you prefer to use a spoon, go for it. Your goal is to make sure that all of the cabbage gets some of that cilantro and, of course, that rice vinegar simple dressing. Perfect. Awesome, guys. So just give it a turn like that. You sort of want to massage it in. Don't worry if some pieces are coming out like mine is. I think I should have used a bigger bowl, but it's fine. We do not want to have to clean up another bowl. Just give that a nice mix. And how I said, the reason we're doing it now, even if you're going to have dinner in 2 hours, let's say, it doesn't matter. You want this to marinate and absorb all of that delicious dressing. So don't worry about that. You could even pop it into your fridge if you don't plan on having dinner yet. Okay, so let's say you're going to have dinner at like 8 o'clock. You can pop this into the fridge now, and like at 7:30, you can take it out. So it, you know, the coldness from the cabbage is a little released, and then you can serve it up. Awesome, guys. So this is very well mixed. Perfect. Awesome. Let me just wash my hands. And I'm just going to set this aside. Let's give a little clean to our area. Just like this. And you can dump that right into your garbage bowl. Perfect. Awesome. So the next thing we're going to do, we are going to make the Greek yogurt sauce. All right. So I'm just going to put my cabbage on the side, and now we're going to work with the Greek yogurt. So I just bought 1 container of this non-fat Greek yogurt. This is about a half a cup. I know that the ingredient list asks for a third of a cup. This is all I have. So this is what I'm going to use. So if you are on the same page as me, don't worry. You're going to just use that, and it's going to be perfect. Awesome. So I'm going to dump all of this into my bowl. I just want to grab a spoon. Awesome. So dump your Greek yogurt into your bowl. Usually Greek yogurt separates when it's in its bowl. So I do want to give this a little mix before I add everything else. Perfect. Now we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of mayo. Okay, if you don't want to add mayo, totally leave it out. I am going to add it. I'm not even going to measure it. I'm just going to eyeball it. I love this like squeezy mayo. So I'm just going to sort of squeeze about 2 tablespoons in there. Perfect. And mix that right up. Awesome, guys. And before we finish this, I also want to heat my skillet. Okay. So for the tortillas, okay, these are the tortillas that I'm using. Just regular flour tortillas. And what I like to do, I like to heat my skillet, just any skillet. You're going to keep it dry. I'm going to heat it to high heat. And then I'm going to show you how we're going to warm these up on the skillet. If you don't want to use a skillet, you can also just wrap the tortillas in foil and stick it into the oven, and that's also going to heat them up. But it's not going to give them like that burn feeling that the skillet is going to do. So just right now, I'm going to heat up my skillet to high heat. And let's go back to our Greek yogurt sauce. So in our Greek yogurt sauce, we have the Greek yogurt, we have the mayo. Now we're going to add in about a tablespoon of lime juice or lemon juice. All right, in my cutting board here, I'm just going to cut my lime in half. I'm not going to measure it. I'm first just going to start off with the juice of half of the lime or the lemon. Both of them work. I just prefer a lime. I like the taste of the lime more than the lemon, but if you like lemon better, that totally works. Then I'm just squeezing half of the lemon or the lime right into this. Don't worry, we're gonna try this and see if it needs a little bit more acidity. We'll add more lime juice. Awesome, guys. So just give that a nice mix. Perfect. All right, the next ingredient that we're gonna add is 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. I'm just gonna bring over, it's very, very little. You just want it to have a little bit of the garlic flavor, but not overpowering. That's why it's just 1/4 teaspoon. I'm just gonna measure that out, add that right in there. Perfect, and this is totally optional. I'm gonna add a little bit just to give it a kick. I'm gonna use some cayenne pepper, alrighty? I'm gonna use an 1/8 teaspoon. I don't have the measurement of an 1/8 teaspoon, so I'm gonna use my 1/4 teaspoon and sort of just measure half of it. This really goes a long way, guys. So start with a little bit, mix everything together, try your sauce, and if you feel like it needs a little bit more heat, then add more. But it's better to start with a little and then add more as needed. All right, and then I'm just gonna add a little pinch of salt right in there. Not too much. A little bit of black pepper. Perfect. And let's just mix it up, all right? And the cayenne pepper is gonna give it like a pale white color, it's like in between pink and white. It's gonna be really nice. Just mix that up and try it. All right, I'm just gonna dip a little one of my fingers in there and we're gonna try this out. All right, so I definitely want a little bit more acidity. So that other half of the lime, I'm gonna squeeze it in there. But again, this is totally to your taste. So if you feel like just half of a lime or half of a lemon is good enough, then leave it as is. And if you feel like it needs a little bit more acidity, like mine, just squeeze a little bit more in there and give this a nice mix. Perfect, try that one more time. Awesome. I'm actually gonna add just another pinch of salt. All right, guys, this is totally to your taste. Sometimes you want a little bit more salt, a little bit less salt, totally make it your own. Awesome. So in my house, not everyone likes spicy. I do love it really spicy. So I'm not gonna add any more any more cayenne to this, but I will add some cayenne in general when I make my tortillas, like my tacos later tonight. I'm not gonna add more here, but if you want it to be a little more spicy, totally feel free to add more cayenne. All right, guys, that is perfect. A really, really simple stuff. It's not overpowering. Remember that our main attraction here of our dish, our main person is the fish, all right? It's really packed with flavor. So everything else that we're doing is lightly flavored, but it's just gonna enhance the flavor from the fish, all right? So I'm just gonna move this over, all right? Again, if you guys are gonna be making this for dinner later, totally put this into the fridge and just take it out about 30 minutes before serving it so it's not too hot. All right, guys, I'm just going to pause this camera here 1 second, and I'm gonna take you guys over to the pan, all right? My pan is super hot. Let me just bring that down a little. We don't want our tortillas to burn. Perfect. Awesome, let me just turn on the camera. There we go. All right, so you can even see the smoke coming out from this right here. Remember, we're gonna leave the pan dry. You don't wanna add any oil to it. You just wanna heat up your tortilla, give it a little bit of a char. If you have a gas stove, sorry, that's the time. If you have a gas stove, you can also just use the flame from the stove. That also works. But before we go to this, I'm actually gonna take out the fish and check it out and see if it needs 5 more minutes or if it's ready to go. And I'm gonna show you guys. Right, so this is the fish, it's looking really good. I'm just gonna open one up and I can see that the fish does need a few more minutes, mine personally. I'm not gonna give it the complete 5 minutes. I'm just gonna give it about 3 more minutes, but check your fish, okay? If your fish seems like it's good to go, take it out. If you feel like it needs a little bit more time, put it into the oven for a couple more minutes. I'm just gonna put that timer for 3 more minutes, and in that same time, we are going to heat up our tortilla. So just take one of your tortillas. This works for corn or flour. I'm using a flour tortilla, and I'm just gonna put it on my pan. And I'm actually using the timer from the oven, all right? So my oven has a 3-minute timer. Once it goes a little past 2 minutes, I'll flip it over. Remember, we don't want this to burn up. And maybe I think that the camera, you can see like the smoke coming up. So this really is gonna cook very quickly. It's gonna brown up really nicely. You could bring over a tongue, or you can just flip them with your hands. And you know that the bottom of the tortilla is cooking when you get these little bumps. You see how it's growing? You can sort of, sometimes if you'd like, you can take a knife and just make a little dot, and that sort of releases the heat, just like that. Be careful, don't burn yourself. Perfect. Awesome, guys. Oh, that burned a little bit, but I like a char, so that doesn't matter. And then the second one, we're gonna do one more. I'm just gonna flip that over. So you can do it like this or in the oven, all right? The difference between the skillet and the oven is that the skillet is gonna give you this yummy charness. The oven is only gonna warm up the tortilla. So it's totally your call. I'm just giving this a few minutes.
What temperature is your stove on?
My stove is on number 6. So like right in between medium and high. So not too high, not too low, but I think it might be too much, yeah. The next one, I'm gonna do it less. But this is really good for me. Let's give that just 1 more minute. And I'm gonna bring over 1 more tortilla to do it again. Awesome. I'm gonna try this one with a little lower, more like medium heat. Perfect, so just put that right there. So my timer has exactly 2 minutes left in the oven. So I'm gonna leave it on 1 minute on one side and another minute on the other. Feel free to ask any questions, guys. Definitely keep an eye on these. They burn very quickly. All right, just a couple of more minutes on this side. You see when this, basically when the bubbles start coming up, it's almost ready. I just want to pop them. So when you flip them, it will still be straight. Awesome, guys. And I'm just going to flip that over. Look at that char. Delicious. Perfect. Awesome. And if you see that it starts rising up, just push it down. You see how the smoke's going to come out? Perfect, guys. And my oven is ready. I'm going to take out the fish. I'm also going to turn off the heat over here. I don't want to burn this. Yum. Alrighty, the fish is totally ready. Look at that. It looks delicious. Perfect. So let's just finish our tortilla. And we're almost ready to plate. All right, guys. This is, again, a super, it has been, what, 30 minutes and we're done with dinner? Amazing. All right, guys. So just bear with me just 1 more second. I'm going to turn off the camera and bring you guys over back to the main stage over there. All righty. Perfect. We're going to make our tortilla. It's going to be super, super yummy, our taco. So I just have my charred taco. Okay, I'm just going to sort of flatten it down. Just press it down the middle so it could be a little bit more like the taco shape. Okay, let's bring over the fish. And you might want to get some tongs or something to be able to move it over. So look, that fish looks amazing and it smells insane. I'm just going to take a couple of those, place them right there. You can even add like a third one, a small one. Perfect. Now I'm going to put a little bit of the cabbage slaw right on top. Let me just get a fork. Perfect. I want to give you guys an even closer look. There we go. Awesome. All right, so just put a little bit of that cabbage slaw right on top. Awesome. Perfect. And then a nice drizzle of the yogurt sauce. All right, and actually before I do that, I want to show you guys. I'll actually end up putting it in one of these. This is the one that I had with oil, one of these squeezy bottles. I have a small one. So I'm going to put all of the sauce into my smaller one once we're done with class, and then I'll just drizzle it on top of. For right now, I'm just going to do it with a spoon. All right, just drizzle that right there. As much or as little as you want. I like a lot of sauce. So I'm going to add a little bit more. And that is it, guys. Dinner is ready. You can totally eat this with a salad. You can eat this with some rice, some quinoa. But that's it. Dinner is ready in what? That was 35 minutes because we started at 6:05 and it's 6:41. And then we're good to go. Now that I have you guys, before you leave, I want to show you next week in our cooking class, we're going to be making something called a falafel pie. All right. It's a really cool thing. I want to show you guys what you're going to need so you guys can start buying it. Okay. Basically, we're going to be making a pie made out of falafel. Okay. So you got to buy this falafel mix. All right. This is super simple. You just mix it with water. And then we're going to use a pie crust and make the crust of our falafel pie out of falafel mix. And then we're going to put a bunch of delicious stuff on top. Some more hummus. So we're going to make hummus, fresh hummus from scratch. We're going to make another type of Israeli salad and then a delicious ground beef mixture. And all of that is going to go on top of our falafel pie crust. So that's going to be really awesome. If you guys have any questions about where to buy this, I bought it at Sarah's Tent in Miami. I don't know where you can buy it somewhere else, but I can totally find it. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining today. I hope you enjoy. If you take any pictures, please send them to me. I would love to see your end result. And dinner is ready, guys. I'll be here for a few more minutes. If you have any questions, let me know. I see your hand, Andrew. Thank you so much for coming. I heard
Thank you, Steph.
No, thank you so much for coming. Gracias a ustedes. Thank you, guys.
Steph, increíble como siempre. Wow. Divino.
Gracias, Mer. Me cuentas qué tal le sale.
Okay.